Welcome to Covers This Puck Props with 14-year NHL veteran and just a young 40 years old, but like
41.
Oh, sorry, the early birthday. Yes, happy early birthday. I missed it. Wasn't as fun as your 40th, I'm sure.
Sorry, I forgot.
How long ago were you just in? Like, when was your last outside of Germany? When was your last NHL game?
2016, last game of the season for the Buffalo Sabres.
Wild. That's not that long ago.
Well, it's 8 years.
You really want to.
All right, let's get right to it. We got a giant slate today. Good morning to everybody there in the chat. A solid, a 2-2 day, but plus money yesterday, thanks to Matthews, plus 140, 1.5 points that closed at plus 120. So lots of value there. Buffalo does what Buffalo does. They held on. If you watch that game, that was an absolute sweater down to the end. But
Dad's trip, though. Dad's trip. They rule.
Dad's trip absolutely rules. It's hard to find out. You really have to be on like the beat of the teams to find out. David says the tax return has hit the account. Let's have some fun. David, you are the most proactive tax person in the world.
No kidding. February tax return?
February 22nd. Your accountant is also a stud to get that back to you. There's some that the Blue Jackets were good. We had that Blue Jackets first period or first line, second line parlay. That one hit there if you saw my tweet early. So good morning there to David, FP, Darren, always in the chat. Adam, Daddy Derek Matthews, what a sniff. It wasn't everybody was on it, but it's really nice to see when there is that subjective stuff in the handicap that it pays off. Let's get going out of the gates.
How about Joe Osborne's first NHL pick on the chat? Columbus
money line. Just came in like a breeze. Just an absolute breeze. 4-0, 4-4, and they win it. They pull away. All of a sudden, that Jack Roslovic, Johnny Gaudreau, and Boone Jenner line looking pretty good last night. Colorado, Detroit. Revenge angle. Opportunity angle. JT Compher for a point, minus 110. Colorado might have the best home record, Carlo, but on the road, they're 13-17 straight up with a negative goal differential, minus 0.37 goals per game. Detroit is coming back from the West Coast. I know that's not something we like to pick on, but Colorado is also coming over from Colorado, which we can classify as a couple time zones. But Detroit does have an extra day of rest. Colorado, worst expected goals against per 60 than Columbus over the last 30 days. This is not a great defensive team. Both clubs bottom 8 in high danger chances. They're allowing a lot. Special teams, big advantage for Detroit here. Number 5 PP and number 1 PK. Last 30. Lyon does scare me. He still had 20 goals over his last 5 games, but he got the win in his last one. And Detroit can win this game in a shootout. Back to Compher. He's on the line. He's on the second line right now with DeBrincat and Lucas. Obviously played in Colorado, so there's a revenge angle. So let's also hit a little Detroit money line.
Hey.
Plus 120. Colorado to you. Colorado, 22-5 straight up at home. That number is incredible. But there is a big edge being, as we saw in like the Vancouver game, right? Later, they were down 1-0. They came back. They scored 3 goals. They won 3-1 for a team that was on the back end of a back-to-back. Being in elevation is a huge advantage. Is it playing too much versus a team that ranks 22nd on the road in point percentage?
Well, it seems like it's definitely playing a factor, and not just for Colorado being the home team, but for road teams going in, right? I mean, what's their spot going in? Are they coming in off a back-to-back? Are they coming in off of, Eastern time zone, whatever it is? But Colorado's definitely made teams pay and pay dearly in home games. And you look at their offense at home too, right? Number 1 team in offense at home, Colorado was, and number 1 PP at home as well too. So it probably factors into why the record's so good, but completely different team on the road, which is surprising. So I like the revenge factor that you're going with here with Comfer and with Detroit. My first glance at this game was the over because both teams
It's hitting 7.
Between them, it's hitting 7 straight.
Yeah, it was over 6.5 minus 135 this morning at 7:30.
Oh, you mean the total's hitting 7?
Yeah.
Oh, right on. I thought you meant the trend between both teams has hit the over in their last 7. But in saying that, these are both teams' offenses that are firing on all cylinder right now, and does the jet lag effect play into Detroit's game plan a little bit, and maybe they're a little bit slower, a little bit rusty, maybe, but the fact that both teams can produce offense at the way that they do, and I know Lyon's been a good story. Georgiev had basically his best game of the year last game against Vancouver as he goalied Vancouver. No reason why we can't see goals in this one as sort of a game that's being overlooked.
I think a lot of the issues with Colorado being good at home too. This is not a deep offense, right? And when you're at home, you have such an advantage to get the matchup.
That's true, matchups, yeah.
And I mean, if Detroit can match up well defensively versus this team, and I believe the second line is who's on that second line? Arturi Lehkonen,
Johansson,
Johansson,
and wasn't Nikushkin, but he's not available. Hang on, I have it up here.
Anyway, it's ugly, but I like Detroit being able to stick around if this game does turn into a shootout, which is being projected with the total. But plus 120 for Detroit team, who is playing better than 500 hockey, making that playoff push. I like that in conference.
So that second line is Miles Wood and Ross Colton.
Oh, it's Miles Wood. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Man, I didn't realize how thin they were after their second line.
They're awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. We're still talking about it like McKinnon took a price, took a better deal than, let's say, guys in Toronto or something, but that's still the line they're throwing out there, and there's not a lot there. So let's go there. Let's go JT Comfort for a point, minus 110. Detroit money line plus 120. Early games. Rangers, Devils. This one is one we can get in the account now because I like how it works out either way. Alexis Lafreniere, over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 105. We've hit this one before. Rangers are a wagon right now. 8-game winning streak, one of the best over the last 10 years, outscoring opponents 34-17. They're winning games by scoring a lot. They're winning games by not scoring a lot. But Artemi Panarin here, day to day, wasn't at practice yesterday. He blocked a shot on Tuesday, finished the game. So here are the scenarios. Lafreniere plays with Panarin if he's healthy. That's great. Sure. But if Panarin is out, Lafreniere jumps up to PP1. Also great. So both situations are great with whatever happens. New Jersey is anything but a stingy team in terms of shot attempts allowed. Last 30 days, third most shot attempts allowed per 60 at 5-on-5. Laffy has about a 10% shot share over his last 9 games. They're not shooting a ton, but he's generating a lot. He's a solid 8-1 to the over in his last 9 games. So a little streaky there. Like the Rangers, like them to keep going. I mean, you ever been on an 8-game winning streak in your professional career?
Yeah, a couple times. I mean, when you're on that streak, life's good, right? I mean, you're going to the rink every day, having fun, putting in the work, showing up to games, knowing that no matter who the opponent is, you just feel confident in the way your team is playing, that you're going to come out with a win. It's a great feeling to be in. And very quietly, this New York Rangers team has, surged lately. I mean, I had to actually take a double take the other day after they beat Dallas. And I'm like, wait a minute, they've won 7 in a row? Yeah. How? When did this happen? How come it's not, people aren't talking about it more? But kudos to them. They've done it quietly, and they're right up there right now in the President's Trophy race, even in the top of the Eastern Conference, as Boston won yesterday to overtake them as the top team in the East. But there's a lot that's clicking right now with the Rangers in every aspect, defensively, goaltending, and offensively. Their power play's clicking. I mean, even I had to take a double look at the Panarin statistics as well, too, as he is quietly right up there at the top.
Oh, yeah.
in league scoring, which again, we spend a lot of time talking about, Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid, Matthews. Well, Panarin's right there too at 75.
Keep going.
What happened?
My Google decided to play your show this morning out of nowhere.
See, my alarm went off yesterday in my house, and now your Google played out of nowhere.
Sorry, everybody. But yeah,
that's hilarious.
Let's get a little piece of this Rangers heater here versus a New Jersey team that's still Jack Hughes is back, but this is not a team that looked like the winning team of last year. Lafreniere over 2.5 shots on goal, -105. We are just getting old here. Montreal, Pittsburgh. What are they going to do with Sid? Sid's got to stay. He's not going anywhere. I would love to see him go somewhere, but let's try.
Crosby and Ovechkin should pull the Korea and Solani and go sign somewhere together.
It's amazing going through old cards and seeing guys like that, like seeing guys like Brett Hall and seeing geez, I forgot Brett Hall played in Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, some of those deals. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy, but
Crosby's got 1 year left. Ovechkin's got 2 years left. I don't think either of those teams are close to being contenders anytime soon. Let these guys go and take one last run at it together, I think.
Yeah, the Ray Bourque-esque move. All right. If you haven't already, you're watching live or you're watching later down the road today, hit that like, subscribe button. It goes a long way. Thank you. Producer Mick just teeing that one up for me. Those are your reading eyes, I see. What's that say? All right, let's go. Montreal, Pittsburgh. Who's riding shotgun with Sid? Ricard Raquel is. Jake Gensel's out. 0.5. That's points. I'm a genius and forgot to add points to the end of that, but producer Mick will help me out. Ricard Raquel over 0.5 points. -125. Playing with Sid. Playing with Brian Rust. PP1. His time on ice, which is probably my favorite part of this. 21 minutes per game on that top line. Up 4 minutes from his season average, which is massive. Montreal in the second of a back-to-back, likely Jake Allen. Last 7 games, at least 3 goals a game. 4.03 goals against, 878 save percentage. Jake Allen is not the answer. Some places, this is -143. Great price here at Sports Interaction. Ricard Raquel for -125. But back to that Sid thing, Carlo. Pittsburgh, 8 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
2 games in hand. Trade deadline is coming up. Gensel injury muddies the water. They're 1-5 straight up in their last 6. Home versus Montreal, then Philly, before a West Coast road trip, 4 games leading up to the deadline. Is this crossroads right now for Pittsburgh, who kind of had to prove, please don't ship us out of town?
Yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, you talk about Dubas having his press conference yesterday and referencing a conversation that he had with Sidney Crosby, and I wonder what that convo was like. Are they deciding the direction of the team? Are they giving each other input on what the decisions should be moving forward? Look, it's been a crazy season in Pittsburgh. A lot of expectation coming in with Dubas and taking over this group and bringing in Carlson and being active in the free agent market to try to still win with this group. And, for Montreal, coming in, they suffered a pretty terrible loss yesterday to Buffalo, but me and you both predicted that because of the dad's trip. So it's the second half of a back-to-back. And while you were talking there, I remember coming across this stat this morning because we get internal emails at work. Montreal is 1-9 on second half of back-to-backs this season. So you use the motivation factor for Pittsburgh, knowing that they're in a spot right now where they just can't afford to lose games that they should win, like Montreal. And the fact that Montreal hasn't been a really good team in back-to-backs this year, you got to like stuff that favors Pittsburgh players. And I like the angle you brought up here with Raquel and the amount of ice time that he has and the promotion that he's gotten. He's playing with Sid, who's having – I mean, can we say it's a career year for Sid? Because it all seems like this is every year with Sid. But the fact that he's doing it,
when you look at what Obi's doing, you look at how special it is. Because
what John Tavares is doing too, right? I mean, as these guys get older, they get slower. And for Crosby, nothing seems to be slowing him down. So I think guys that are playing with him are, in a place to reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, if you're always looking to find plus EV plays in hockey, a lot of it comes down to they're being priced at their whatever points per game versus their regular time on ice average. But when a guy like Rickard Rakell goes up 4 minutes average ice time because of his opportunity on that top line, it's going to take some time for the books to move that line. And as we see all year, right, the Jonathan Drouin, I keep referring to that, but like, it's not like plus 110 to like minus 170. It's like plus 110. Then he goes down to like even money. It's a slow grind to his opportunity. So guys like Rakell will have 3, 4, 5 games if he stays at this and at a price where this should be in his opportunity, probably minus 160.
Yeah, no, I agree. So good find by you.
Dad trips. When is the next one?
We got to find that out.
Yeah.
We need an app that gives us
dad mom trip tracker.
Yeah, we need an app that gives us alerts when each team is on their dads, moms, or mentor trips.
Yeah.
Yes.
Austin Matthews' parents are traveling with him to Arizona. Absolutely.
Yeah,
all right,
talk about a more fitting moment for him to score 50 in his hometown.
That was awesome. And I couldn't get a Matthew Nice point, so angry. But and back to that Montreal game. It will be interesting to see time on ice because Slafkovsky took 3 minor penalties in that game that really cost his team. Really interesting to see if they just kind of let him go and say, okay, those were dumb mistakes, or they kind of punish him a little bit and reduce his ice time or bump him down because 3 minor infractions, holding, and like a slashing that cost.
Well, they were clearly out of frustration. I mean, he had an 8-game point streak going into that game, and that came to an end yesterday. So you saw the frustration come out, but I don't think there's going to be much punishment for that. I mean, there might be a
team that doesn't have any scoring depth.
Yeah, there might be a conversation that he has with Marty St. Louis, but that line's been on fire, man, and clearly without them, it'd be a lot worse in Montreal right now. Joe Osborne has hit the chat. He's back.
What's he got, Joe Osborne? Said, let's go Flames.
On fire. All right.
All right. Cheapest arena beer in NHL. That's why Joe's there. That's why he's like, I'm going to Calgary for that.
Nice.
Yeah. Tall cans, Busch Light. Let's go. Nice. Washington. We'll get to that Calgary game, but right now, Washington, Tampa Bay. Everybody's on it. Let's go. Let's move these lines. Cirelli for a point, minus 130. Tampa Bay coming off an absolute dud versus Ottawa. Kucherov losing ground in the MVP race, in the Art Ross race. Cirelli's on that line. He's centering Kucherov and Stamkos, and he's playing net front PP1. So obviously a great spot here versus a Washington team that, I mean, what they're not great. They aren't, and like you're being. When like someone like
they've overachieved this year.
Exactly. And like we saw them like kind of like hit a peak and now they're kind of going back down. Bottom 7 expected goals against per 65 on 5, last 30. Both Lindgren and Kemper sub 890 save percentages since the All-Star break. So there's a lot there. Kucherov, just 2 points up on Nate Mack, 9 points up on McDavid. Oh boy, McDavid closes ground quickly. It's insane. Coming off a 0 shot effort versus Ottawa, his 3rd of the year. You got to expect a massive performance tonight from Kucherov, and Cirelli just kind of mopping things up with him. He's got
Cirelli, a popular pick in the chat.
11 games without a point. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a popular pick in the chat. There's a lot of people liking the Cirelli angle. I mean, I look at this game. I mean, you look at the Tampa, they've lost back-to-back games. They got blown out by Florida. And then they lose at home, get embarrassed at home by the Ottawa Senators. So I just look at this as a get-right spot for Tampa Bay against a team that they're clearly better than against Washington. And in doing that, you got to look at some of Tampa's best players to lead the way on the score sheet. And I mean, people like the Cirelli angle. I like the Kucherov angle. I like the Kucherov. You know, he had 0 points last game, and you said that he's losing ground in the other award races. This could be a pick-me-up and a get-right spot for Kucherov and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I like everything that Tampa Bay has to offer.
And out of all those guys in the race, I think it's Kucherov who gets the most. Up by 1 goal, up by 2 goals. Okay, Cooch, jump over the boards. Try to pad the stats with the empty net. Like
for sure.
He seems to be getting more empty net points than other players.
For sure. I mean, unless your name is Ovi. Ovi loves the empty net stats, but I mean, there's a reason why he's getting them. There's a recognition from people in Washington knowing what he's chasing.
Yeah.
So,
Kucherov, over 1.5 points, minus 115 at Sports Interaction right
there you
now.
go.
Like it all. I like it all. But that line does have Stamkos with Braden Point jumping down to that second line. But all three of them, again, being together on that PP1 with Cirelli and Hedman. All right, let's get to Joe Osborne's game of the day. Boston, Calgary. Now, this is a great price at Sports Interaction right now because this over 5.5 is expensive everywhere else. And it's still minus 115 at Sports Interaction, which I'm taking now, and which is something I'd play to minus 125 on the over 5.5, but then I'd hit the 6 at even money, and that's probably where my price break is. But we saw what can happen in Boston games. We saw things get real loose. We saw things get, they got two lines. They're tough to protect against, especially when they split up Marchand and Pasternak. We saw it last night. And Calgary, what is Calgary? They were good. They're bad. They said, you know what? We're going to win.
You know what they are? They are the identity of what the NHL is. Unpredictable.
They're the NHL personified in what they are. And with the trade rumors humming around, there's not a lot to like. To both teams, bottom 10 PKs over the last 30 days. All of a sudden, Boston on the road without last change. You're giving me over 5.5. You're giving me 5.5 total. I don't see this. I don't see where this. If there's one under game I like on the board, it's probably the St. Louis New York Islanders game that for some reason is also okay. It was at 6.5. It's at 6 now, but this Boston Calgary game I think should certainly close at 6. Both teams coming off 6-goal outings. In baseball, Carlo, we have a saying that hitting is contagious. Is there a similar effect in hockey with scoring and scoring confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how you win games in today's NHL. You got to score goals, right? So, gone are the days where you can rely on the New Jersey Devils system with Marty Brodeur and their suffocating trap that they play defensively. So when a team's feeling it, you kind of got to ride that high, because it's not just the individual players that are feeling it. It's the certain lines that are probably feeling it. And for Calgary, look, I mean, you talk about a Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, just when you think that they're going to take that next step, they have a stinker. And then, when you count them out in a game, they find a way, like 2 weeks ago when I was in Vegas and I was asking you the Islanders game against Calgary, everything pointed toward an Islanders victory in that game, but Calgary comes out and scores 6 goals and wins. How? It is what it is. So I like your angle here. And we talked at length about Boston at Edmonton yesterday. Well, we saw everything play out the way that it did. I think this could be a letdown spot for Boston as well, too. The second half of a back-to-back where they got their big game and big result out of the way last night that went to overtime. So Calgary can score. And if they can score, that means the game's going to open up because you're going to just allow Boston's players to play more offense.
But an over 5.5, where we're looking at it, 4-2 is always the lowest angle for the win, right? 4-2. Keeping Boston to under 2 goals is tough for Calgary on this spot. I like Calgary, but I think both sides can score. If you're looking at lines, I mean, the Huberdeau, Sharangovich, Kuzmenko line is just
red hot.
What are they? The Huberdeau's been all right, but the other guys have done nothing. I don't want to sound like a guy who wants to sound cool.
So wait a minute. Last time I checked, Kuzmenko, he had a good start.
Oh yeah, he's cooled down.
He's cooled off. Okay,
yeah. So right now that line, the top line right now with 5-on-5 for the Flames is the Mangiapane, Backlund, and Coleman line. So. Wow. And then the Kadri, Zari, Pospisil, whatever.
Pospisil.
Yeah, that's the number 2 line. So it's tough to figure out. But I do like, if I'm looking for that line to produce, Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman line, if you're looking for some sniffs on that game. Let's get to
sniff.
Toronto, Vegas. You like Vegas. You say it's a tough spot for Toronto, but I can't pass up Matthews anytime goal.
No, it's auto bet, man.
At -110. At -110, it closed at like -165 yesterday. Obviously, the matchup plays a big point of it. But Vegas, 16th in goals against last 30. But underlying metrics say they're even worse. 27th in expected goal percentage. 28th in expected goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. 28th in high danger chances allowed. Hill has regressed slightly to a league average goalie. He's not the number one goalie in metrics. Massive blow to slowing down. 34, Mark Stone out of the lineup. This is a team that's also missing Eichel. They might get Shea Theodore back today, which is big and obviously boosts that team, but you're not slowing down Matthews at -110. Any reason not to hit this at -130 or better?
No, zero reason at all. You'd be passing up money doing so. And I mean, you're getting great value on a guy that is we talked about feeling it. Who's feeling it right now? I mean, and just seems like every time he's in the offensive zone or in around the net, he's a threat to score. And lately, those have been going in. So, we're very lucky to be seeing something like this happen right in front of us on a nightly basis. And I think what excites people is, what the future of the rest of his season could look like, right? Or the outlook of it. And the fact that this guy's capable of scoring every game right now, if you're getting those type of odds doing so, if the Maple Leafs score, you got to think that he's one of the favorites in every game. That's going to factor into the scoring. If it's not scoring, he's passing it. He's finding a way to be involved. And the way their power play is operating too right now, you got to like the chances even more.
And Morgan Riley is back.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't I'm a firm believer of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But gotta keep Timothy Liljegren on PP1. But I mean, Riley can slide in there. I don't think there's a big difference there. But the odds are implying basically 50% probability of Matthews scoring, and that's just not the case right now. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And Aiden Hill is regressing a bit, and there's some underlying metrics. Vegas is going to give up some goals. Let's go. Last game, Vancouver, Seattle. This is just a funny one. I mean, Vancouver first period money line on the two-way -120. They've hit the first period money line three-way, which is big bucks in 48 of their last 83 games.
No way. Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That's from the Covers Trends page. 30% ROI on that trend. They won the first period money line in Colorado, still lost 3-1. They've lost in the two-way market. So the ties in there. They've lost just 6 first periods over their last 34 games, dating back to December 1st.
Wow.
They are a juggernaut in the first period. They have the best first period offense with 70 goals in 58 games, plus 27 goal differential in the first period on the season.
Mm-hmm.
Their team to get excited about in the first period. So let's bring that trend to the table. Let's bring it to NHL Puck Props. Not much on that one. I know you got to get out of here, and we're running.
No, I mean, I think the only thing on that one is you just got to credit Vancouver. They're clearly getting the coach's message when it's needed. Look, this is a team that's lost 3 games in a row for the first time all season. So, that's something that they've probably talked a lot about and something they want to rectify and something that they've probably said in order to do that, we got to get off to a fast start tonight. And they've been a good team at doing that. So why would tonight be any different?
Yeah, -120.
More incentive.
Usually at home, it's like looking at -150, -160. So a decent price on the two-way push is in play with that. So in saying that, nice 0. Yes, Darren Folks brings up the nice points. He was basically invisible.
Hard to believe 6 goals, couldn't get one.
I don't want to talk about it because but in that I was, when you're like, Bud, what are you doing out there? How are you not getting secondary assists on anything? I'm doing the math. I'm looking at his shifts. I'm like, the guy's got 9 minutes and 14 shifts. It's like, I did the math. He's like getting 40 seconds a shift. I'm like, buddy, take some Michael Bunting-esque shifts and go up and down the ice a couple more times, pal. You deserve it.
Well, Bobby McMahon's been the guy taking over. So
I know McMahon. Oh, Bobby Bags is just, and then he gets Tavares. And Robertson on that line. It's certainly one to target going forward. I think. Because the Bertuzzi-Domi connection is just not working out. Did you see Bertuzzi miss the open net high?
Again, I know, man.
High. I've never seen guys shoot it over the net.
This guy's the king of missing open nets.
Oh, what a it's a struggle for him. But I appreciate everybody there in the chat. Let's go through this rundown. JT Comfort, revenge angle. Goals coming in this game over 0.5 points, minus 110. And I think Detroit can handle a shootout versus Colorado, who's a sub 500 team on the road, plus 120 home dogs. Lafreniere could have Panarin, might not, but if he doesn't, he'll be up to PP1 probably, over 2.5 shots, minus 105, 8-1 to the over in his last 9. Raquel, let's go. Points, minus 125, PP1. Crosby, Montreal second of a back-to-back, and as Carlo said, I believe 1-9 or 1-8 in the second game. Sorelli, everybody's on Sorelli. Let's move that line. If he points here, we can get that line to minus 150 in the next game. Let's get advantage today. Washington, Tampa Bay, that game. Boston, Calgary. We know Big Joe's on the Flames. Oh, 1-0 on covers his puck props. He wanted to stay perfect, but let's get over 5.5, minus 115. That is certainly going to trend. Sports Interaction has a great price on that. And then the Toronto game, Matthews anytime goal, minus 110. Also a great price from Sports Interaction. And then Vancouver, first period money line, minus 120. We ride that trend. The team that is absolutely cashing first period tickets. We're certainly not losing them. Let's do that. Please hit that like, subscribe button. As always, appreciate everybody there in the chat. Sorry going long, but today's a big slate. Lots of looks, lots of sniffs.
Love the big slate.
Let's go. Appreciate everybody there. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. This is a great little community we got going here. We'll see you back here tomorrow, 10 a.m., hopefully with some more winners. Brought to you by Sports Interaction. Lead us out, pal.
Tomorrow, same time, same channel.
Oh,
ciao.